Good to see everyone here. Oh my goodness. I hope you prayed for me. I hope so. When Christian first announced it, I saw a couple people drop to their knees, so that's really good. I don't know whether to be insulted or appreciative, but I am super excited to be up here today, speaking about something I'm very passionate about, something that is very important to me. The past couple weeks here at City Light, we've been talking about apologetics, and that's the defense of our faith. And to me, I went through a period of time in college where I just felt my faith being attacked over and over and over again. So I looked to these apologists, these doctorate degrees, and it was really, really a godsend. God really absolutely took care of me through that. And so, do I have a clicker on the table? That's Christian's fault. He was supposed to tell me if I had a clicker. Sorry, Christian. Everything that goes wrong, I'm going to blame on Christian. All right. So, the reason why I want to share this verse, Christian actually shared this verse on the first week of this series, and this is like the poster verse for apologetics here. It's 1 Peter 3:15. But in your hearts, honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you. Yet do it with gentleness and respect. So we are commanded by the Bible to always be prepared to make a defense. You never know when you're going to need it. It could be a defense that you need for yourself. It could be a defense that you need for that person that you're planting seeds, a friend of yours, and they're just not there yet, and you need to be ready for when they are. Or it could be a complete stranger. Just about a month ago, I'm a school teacher. So like right in the middle of our classes, our county does this thing where it's like some health incentive thing. And you you have to go get like your blood pressure and your height and your weight and all kinds of stuff like that. So this nurse travels around and does all of this stuff for you. So it's between classes. I'm like stressing out. I just ended a class. I've got 15 minutes. I run down there, not expecting anything, just like get me out of here. So I walk in, and this nurse is like a ray of sunshine. I mean, have you met these people where it's like it literally just feels like you've never met them before, but it's like they've just been dying to meet you? You know what I mean? If you've never met one of those people, introduce yourself to Bree Tulowitzki over there after church. This is what I want you to picture, okay? So I walk in there, and I sit down. She takes my blood pressure, takes my height and weight, and she puts this paper on the desk, and she's like, all right, what's your full first name? And I say, Joshua. And she says, oh, Joshua, like that. Joshua, son of Nun. And I say, yeah, actually, I was named after him. And she says, oh, man, well, tell your parents I love that movie, too. I said, what? She said, what? You don't know? You're named after a main character in a movie. Joshua, son of Nun. He's like this right-hand man to this character, Moses. I said, oh, no, I know the story. I read the book. And she goes, what? I said, well, I'm a Christian. That's the Bible. Like, they existed. Joshua, son of man. Joshua, son of Nun, he was a real person. He was walking around down here. And so we spent the rest of this time having this awesome discussion about Christianity, and you just never know when these are going to pop up. Last thing I was ever expecting in my public school was to be in the room with this person, and she was just so open. I don't have a way to get in contact with her. I'm praying for her. I hope something happened. If you're watching by some miracle, hi, it's Joshua, son of Nun. It's good to meet you. No. But it's so important, and it's so special to me. And today, specifically, we're talking about the resurrection, okay? And as far as just apologetics topics go, I don't want to say it's the most important one, but it might be. It might be, and that's because of this right here. Christianity and the resurrection of Jesus stand or fall together. Let me explain this. It's as simple as this. If Jesus died and was raised. If he was resurrected, Christianity's true. Everything else follows. Okay? If he did everything else, he came, he was born in Bethlehem, he was a Nazarene, he had disciples, he taught great lessons, he was crucified, but he didn't rise, this is all for nothing. We're wasting our time. You all should just go home. I should go home. It would all be vanity. It's a waste of time. Paul describes this in 1 Corinthians 15. He says, if Christ has not been raised, then our preaching is in vain, and your faith is in vain. We're even found to be misrepresenting God because we testified about God that he raised Christ, whom he did not raise, if it is true that the dead are not raised. And if Christ has not been raised, your faith is futile, you're still in your sins, then those also who have fallen asleep in Christ have perished. If in Christ we have hope in this life only, we are of all people most to be pitied. So our preaching is in vain, our faith is in vain. You're misrepresenting God. Your faith is futile, you're still in your sins. Those who have perished, those who have died, believing that Jesus rose again, they're gone, they've perished. And we, out of all the people on earth, us, Christians, are most to be pitied if Jesus did not raise from the dead. And so imagine being someone who opposes Christianity and you come across this verse. Imagine what they start to think. They think, are you kidding me? I could throw the rest of it out. Like I can just look at this verse and all I've got to do is prove that a man that lived 2,000 years ago didn't come back from the dead? And that's it? Yes. That's it. That's all they've got to do. That's it. That's what's so amazing about this story. So what I want to do, I'm going to spend way too little time doing this, but I'm going to go over the resurrection really, really quick. Maybe you haven't read through the resurrection story ever. Maybe you haven't read through in a while, but I want to take some time and just point your eyes and let you just see the text, okay, of the story that I want to defend today. Okay, so we're going to go through it really quickly. We're going to start with Jesus carrying the cross to his crucifixion. So they forced him to carry the cross. They came to a place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. When they had crucified him, they divided up his clothes by casting lots. Those who passed by hurled insults at him. He's the King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross, and we'll believe in him. He trusts God. Let God rescue him now, if he wants him. For he said, I am the Son of God. In the same way, the rebels who were crucified with him also heaped insults on him. And then about 3 p.m, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me? And he dies. Okay? So then they take his body down, and Joseph of Arimathea puts him in a tomb. And when the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they might go to anoint Jesus' body. But when they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had been rolled away. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. Don't be afraid, he said. You are looking for Jesus the Nazarene who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him. But go, tell his disciples and Peter, he is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him just as he told you. So Jesus raises. The first people who notice this are women, and they go and they find the tomb missing Jesus' body and an angel sitting there, and the angel says, just wait, you'll go see him. You'll see him soon. You'll believe me. And we have separate accounts, okay, we have multiple accounts of people who claim to have seen the resurrected Jesus, okay? In fact, there's multiple stories where there's this one in particular where more people at the same time, like a group of Jesus' disciples were in a room in this one circumstance, and Jesus appears to them, Okay? So not only is he appearing to people by themselves, he's appearing to people in a group. Okay? I want you to keep that in mind for later. So first I want to use the Bible. Now I'm moving past the story. And first I just want to show you how, if you don't have goosebumps, I'm going to give them to you. Oh, man. And if you already know this, just act like you don't know it. I'm not up here very often, so just go for it. So I want to look at the Old Testament here. And these things were written down over 1,000 years before Jesus was even born. Okay, everything I'm going to show you over 1,000 years before Jesus was even born. In fact, over 1,000 years before crucifixion, how they killed him, before crucifixion was even invented. It was invented by the Persians over 1,000 years later. Okay, keep that in mind. First, I want to show you Psalms 22. I don't have time to go over the whole thing, so I encourage you this week, if you have some extra time, Psalms 22, write it down. Go look it up. It's going to blow your mind. Okay, I'm telling you, it's going to blow your mind. Anyway, it starts out like this. My God, why have you forsaken me? Oh, man, Tyler, if you like that, hang on. My God, why have you forsaken me? Look at verse 7 there. All who see me mock me. They hurl insults, shaking their heads. He trusts in the Lord, they say. Let the Lord rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him. I am poured out like water. All of my bones are out of joint. Look at verse 16 there. They pierced my hands and my feet. Again, this is over 1,000 years before crucifixion was even invented. And he's describing crucifixion. Up here, all my bones are out of joint, is referring to when you would hang on the cross for so long, eventually your shoulders would become dislocated. And you would eventually have to hang there. They're literally describing the crucifixion 1,000 years before it was invented, over 1,000 years before it happened. But 1,000 years before it was invented, David wrote this down. And they divide my clothes among them and cast lots. I've got more. Go read the rest of Psalms 22. There's a lot more in that. But now I want to look at Genesis 22. Fine, let's go back earlier. First book of the Bible, Moses. So long before Jesus, right? Let's look at the story. You might have heard it before, where Abraham takes Isaac. They travel up the mountain, and Abraham is told to sacrifice Isaac to show that he loves God. Let's look at that. It's in Genesis chapter 22 here. Then God said, take your son, your only son, whom you love. First of all, that is the first time love is used in the Bible. To talk about a relationship between a father and a son. It gets better. Your only son whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on the mountain I will show you. And so they travel up this mountain. Guess how long it takes them to go up the mountain? 3 days to go up this mountain. And they start getting close, and Isaac asks, where's the sacrifice? And Abraham answered, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. I'll come back to that in a second. And the two of them went on walking together. Then they got a little closer, and before they arrived at their destination, Abraham had Isaac carry the wood that he was to be sacrificed on. Much like Jesus carried his cross to be crucified on. And so then they get there. Abraham's about to sacrifice his only son of whom he loved. And the angel of the Lord speaks out, stop! You've proven you love me. Don't sacrifice him. And so Abraham looked up, and there in the thicket, he saw a ram. Not a lamb. Not a lamb. A ram. The lamb comes later. He saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called that place, the Lord will provide. And to this day, it is said, on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. This was written by Moses. On the mountain of the Lord, it, singular, will, future tense, be provided. And over 1,000 years later, on that mountain, it was provided. If you don't have goosebumps right now, come see me after, we'll pray. Genesis. This is the Old Testament, people. This is the Old Testament. It's all over the place. These are just two. I mean, oh my goodness, all over the place. Down to the amount of money Judas sold Jesus out for. These details are all through the Old Testament pointing to it. But let's take another route here. What I want to do right now is just explain something really quickly. Minimal facts argument, okay? If you typed in YouTube, people debating this, okay? And I would argue, a lot of people come up to me, okay, well, how can you prove something without using the Bible? And that's a little wishy-washy, and here's why. You can't throw out the Bible. You can't. Atheists cannot throw out the Bible. It doesn't matter who you are. You can believe it's not God-breathed. You can believe it's not inspired. You can't just throw it out. At the very least, you have to look at it as historical. Okay? And that's what they do. They look at it historically. Okay? And so what I want to do is just take you through really quickly some of the most common theories to explain what happened, to show there was no resurrection. Okay? These are some of the most common theories. And what I want to do is just give you 5 facts in the beginning that are conceded, that's their word, that are given to us, that they give to us. They say, look, these 5 facts, we're not even going to argue about them. Okay? We accept them. Don't even bring it up. All right? We get it. We've got nowhere to go with these. Here are these 5 facts. Okay? Top atheists. Bart Ehrman. If you've heard of Bart Ehrman before, he's probably the most famous atheist in the world. I'm not sure. Bart Ehrman recently released the book, 20 facts, right in the beginning of the book. These are just 5 of them, okay, that he concedes right away to a Christian argument. So let's look at these 5 facts really quick. First, they accept Jesus died by crucifixion. There's a lot in just those 4 words. First, Jesus must have existed, okay, and they concede this. Jesus died, and he died by crucifixion. There's a lot in just those 4 words that they are conceding. They choose their words very carefully, by the way. Number 2, women found the tomb empty. This goes along with the criteria of embarrassment that Christian actually talked about a couple weeks ago. The criteria of embarrassment is basically just the argument that if the disciples were making up this story, there's no way that they would have had women find that the body was missing in that time. Because back in that time, a woman's testimony wasn't even used in court or law. It wasn't considered reliable at all. And so if they're trying to fabricate a story that they want people to believe, they're going to say that, John found it. They're going to say that 2 men found this. Okay? That's the criteria of embarrassment argument to an extent. Okay? All through the Bible, we see the people writing the book who are actually in the book aren't even the hero. Okay? In fact, sometimes they look pretty silly. Oh, ye of little faith. How many times do we see that? Okay? And Jesus is talking to some of the people who wrote the book. Usually, when we discover old documents that are legend, the person who wrote it, if they're a main character in it, they're looking pretty good. Okay, that's the criteria of embarrassment, just really quickly. And then number 3, his disciples had experiences that they believed were appearances of the risen Jesus. Number 4, enemies and unbelievers of Christ were converted. Okay, that means during Jesus' life, they didn't accept him as the Messiah. After Jesus' life, they converted. They did. Specifically 2. James, the half-brother of Jesus. Okay, they will give to us that absolutely he was not a Christian before Jesus died. Absolutely he was a Christian after Jesus died. So much so that James actually, in Jerusalem, became one of the head honcho Christians there in Jerusalem. And then Paul is the other one. Formerly Saul would travel to other towns because he wanted to have Christians killed, to seek out Christians. Okay? And then he as well, after the resurrection, became a follower of Jesus and wrote about half of the New Testament. So specifically those two. And then finally, violence was endured by the apostles. Whatever they had, they were willing to die for. Okay? And both James and Paul both died for. James was stoned around AD 60, and Paul was beheaded around the same time. Okay? So let's just take these 5 facts. There's so much more. There's so much more. But let's take these 5 facts that they give us. Okay? Let's take only these 5 facts that they concede to us, and then let's look at some current arguments. They have these 5 facts while at the same time are arguing these theories that I'm about to show you. Okay? I want you to see the contradiction. That's my goal here. Okay? Number 1, mass hallucination theory. This is probably the most popular. The disciples hallucinated Jesus when they saw him after he died. It was a hallucination. All of them did. All of them did. And so if you take it, and you take the documents that they're pulling their facts from, and you take that, okay, we have multiple accounts of Jesus appearing in front of multiple people. So if I'm hallucinating something, okay, I'm hallucinating, Nathan is dancing back there. He's not actually, but, okay, now he is. Don't look back there. Don't, save yourself. But if I'm hallucinating something, okay, and Christian's hallucinating something, we're not going to hallucinate the same thing. All right, that's not how it works. It's in our mind. It's in my mind that I'm hallucinating that. Okay? So we have separate accounts where the disciples were all together and they must have hallucinated the same exact thing, which absolutely does not hold up, of course. And so then you would have to come to the conclusion, okay, well, they lied. The disciples lied then. They had to have all gotten together and they lied. And we'll get to that in a second. So that's mass hallucination theory. And we can already start to break it down with just these 5 facts that they give us, okay? Just that they give us. These I kind of clumped together there. We've got wrong tomb theory, missing body theory, and the conspiracy theory, okay? Wrong tomb theory, they went to the wrong tomb. Now that's it. They went to the wrong tomb. Jesus was put in a tomb, they forgot where it was, and they went to the wrong one. The missing body theory, guess what that is? The body was missing. The Romans misplaced it like car keys. They misplaced Jesus, okay? That's one theory. And then finally, the conspiracy theory that we read about in the Bible, that the disciples broke in and stole the body. All of these, we can just look at the last 2 here. I know I'm not supposed to point at the screen. We could just look at the last 2 here. Enemies and unbelievers were converted, okay? So let's just take Paul. At that time, Saul. Let's take Saul. He was killing Christians, okay? He was traveling around, hated it, hated Christianity. And he changed his life because of a missing body? Because the body was missing. That's it. Because the body was missing, he completely changed everything. His passion and hatred for Christianity turned into a different type of passion for Christianity because of a missing body. No. James, the half-brother of Jesus, who knew Jesus his whole life, James, the half-brother of Jesus, who the whole time he's saying, no, my brother is not the Messiah. Jesus dies. There's just a missing body. And James is like, you know what? I was wrong. No. It does not explain that. It doesn't even explain what they're willing to concede to us. Their argument already starts to fall apart. And then, oh my goodness. What you're thinking is exactly what this is. The twin theory is that Jesus had a twin. This twin was kept secret from the world for 30 years. And then, when Jesus died, the twin broke in, rolled a stone, stole the body, made himself look all shiny, I guess, and appeared to the disciples. He didn't appear to people who, just passed by Jesus. He appeared to people who knew Jesus, people who traveled with Jesus, okay? So this would have to assume the apostles that Jesus appeared to, they wouldn't know the difference between Jesus and somebody else, even if he was a twin, okay? That's one thing. And then let's look at James, okay? So if I'm doing the family tree correctly, a twin would be a brother of Jesus, right? And so James was the half-brother. So, okay, first, James would have to not know about one of his brothers, okay? And then second, James would have to not recognize his own brother, all right? And, oh my goodness, can you imagine? I mean, if the twin opened its mouth and talked about anything, I mean, wouldn't we know? I mean, the thing is, these theories are almost, I guess I don't want to say comforting, but they're almost comforting. These doctorates on doctorate degrees are trying so hard. This is what they're coming up with to try to disprove the resurrection. This is what they're doing, okay? These are the stories that they have to, because they know these facts happened and they have to explain them somehow. And these are the lengths they have to go to try to explain the things that they know are fact. Okay, these are the lengths. No, they don't work, but these are the lengths that they're going to. Okay? Oh, man. But you know what? There is one explanation. There's one explanation that checks all these boxes. And that's just that Jesus is alive. That's it. That's the simplest explanation. And they have to bob and weave and go all over the place to try to get around this. They don't want to accept this. Jesus is alive. It fits everything. It fits everything. Oh, my goodness. It's just, this is so important, people. It is. Always be prepared to make a defense. Always be prepared. Worship team can come on up. Is that a good time? Oh, man. I've got another 30 slides I could go through. Man, I love that. Oh, goodness. Okay. It's so important. It is. And, you never know when you're going to need to make a defense. You never know when you're going to need to know this. You never know when you might need it for yourself. I needed it for myself. You never know when that friend you've been praying for is going to reach out. I pray for one of my friends and his girlfriend every day. I pray that he reaches out. I pray that I'm ready to make a defense when he does. Be ready. You never know. Or you never know when you walk in to get your blood pressure taken if you're going to talk to a complete stranger. Oh my goodness. Be ready. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for all the awesome texts and everything. It was really overwhelming. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Everyone who lent me materials, they were so awesome. Just thank you so much. My wife and I are so lucky to call City Light home. We love you guys. I'm going to turn it over to Christian. Thank you so much.